All right, welcome to the Lilac Writer screencast. We're going to pick up where we left off in the previous video about the multi-track drum setup. And we're building out parts using multi-track drum loops, but most of this will also apply to any time you have live recorded multi-track drums. So I've got a multi-mic drum setup, and in the previous videos we organized this onto a series of tracks. We've combined the overheads and the rooms to left and right pairs. We've created mix groups for the multiple mics on the kick, also another mix group on the snare and on the toms. One thing I wanted to point out that I didn't mention in the previous video, if you're playing and the faders don't respond to the meters, you need to check in the options to make sure that pre-fader metering right here is not turned on. Now see, if that's on, then you're only getting basically the track level, and the fader, like here on the hi-hat, has no indication on that meter. Makes it pretty confusing when you're mixing. So you want to check to make sure that pre-fader metering is off. All right, we're going to set up the track colors. Now I like to pick a track color for an instrument. Before I do that, I'm just going to make the mixer simpler by turning off everything other than the faders here, and we can do that with minimal on this little setting here, and that'll help me fit it on the screen better. And I'm also going to turn off this grouping so that I can get pretty much everything on the screen at once. I want to hide the click, so I'll just hide that because I don't need that on here. First I'm going to set the track colors, and the track colors are set right by a double click on the little track color tab. And what I like to do is take a couple of colors that are in the same category, and I think I'll use blues on this, and I'll start with this shade here. No, I don't like that. All right, we'll start with this shade here. By adjusting this saturation, we can actually get the track itself to take on the color, and here's the brightness, so you can kind of adjust that. So the brightness looks pretty good right in the middle, but if you turn the saturation up, the track takes on the color that you've selected. So then I'm going to select the next 3 tracks for the snares, and I'll pick, let's see, I'm just going to pick a slightly different color for that. And then toms, I'm going to go back to the original blue color. That was the hi-hat there. So actually for the toms, I'll pick this darker blue. And then for the remaining couple things here, I'll pick the brighter one. So I'm just alternating the colors within the same thing. So in this case, I've got blues. I'm just going back and forth so that I can actually see this grouping, but now I've got all the drums are blue. And I think that's kind of a nice way to work. And I think adjusting the saturation starts to bring it up. And you'll see when we add more kinds of tracks later on, it's a very helpful visual to bring that up. And I also like to leave the master as a fairly bright red, so that's easy to pick out. The next thing we're going to do is set all the drums up into a submix. And here's how you do that. We need to pick out an internal bus, and so we go into Setup I/O, and your sound card might look different than this, but the bus part will look something like this. And Pro Tools has a lot of different buses that you can choose from, and I like to turn off a lot of these and then turn them on as I assign them to things. And I'm going to skip the first couple because I'm going to later use these for the master and for a bounce. But for right now, I'm going to start here and call this bus drum sub. And then later on, as we build out a mix, we're going to create other subs. Like if we have a multi-part bass, we'll create a bass submix. A lot of people will set this up and just leave these numbered. But I really like the idea of using convention of naming them as subs when you're using them for subs. Like I said, we're going to use this one for a master And we're going to use this for a special kind of a bounce to create internal mixes in a later video. But anyway, right now all we need is the bass, the drum sub, and that's assigned to the internal subgroups 5 and 6. That's really all we need to do there. Next, I need a new track, and for this type of track, for a submix, we need to use an auxiliary input. So we'll create an auxiliary input, and it's way over here, so we'll put it over here by the master. And we're going to name this drum sub, and this will be our subgroup for the drums. And we'll put the input for this to the bus that we called drum sub. And then we're going to assign all of these here to the drum sub. The output's automatically set to your main analog 1, 2, and for me that goes to my control room monitors. We're going to leave that for now. Now we need to go through here and then set the outputs of all these other tracks to also to the drum sub bus. Now you can go one by one, or you can use the trick of highlighting and shift click to highlight all, and then if you hold down Option in the mixer and reassign something, then it will assign everything that's selected to that. So in that one shot, I assigned all the drum subs. Now I'm going to hit return to rewind my track and play, and I'm not hearing anything because this drum sub needs to be assigned to the analog output. So now I've got a complete mix of drums on its own fader. And that's how you set up the drum sub. Now, if you're working on other tracks, you can take this whole group here and hide them. And now your drums is just down to a single fader. Pretty cool. If we want to bring them back, we can just do a show here, and that brings them all back. So I accessed that. I accessed that with this little arrow here that opens up the groups and the tracks panes on the mixer. So that's just one more step in getting your setup ready for a multi-track drum session. You'll find that as we move through these videos, we'll put quite a bit of time into building this mixer design, and very likely you'll want to create a template and open this right in the beginning of your project, and it will save a lot of time. But you can tailor this design to the way you work. And if you use some organization and a lot of conventions, you can easily keep it straight and be very effective and work pretty quickly in your home studio. So there you go. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.